You've probably done it 100 times, scooping those tiny brown granules into your mug, adding hot water, and not giving it another thought. But what if I told you that simple act connects you to one of the most sophisticated food manufacturing processes on the planet? Instant coffee isn't just regular coffee that got dried out. It's the product of agricultural science, mechanical engineering, and food chemistry working in perfect harmony across continents. Every year, over 800 billion cups of instant coffee are consumed worldwide. That's more than 100 cups for every person on Earth. The journey from cherry to cup is more complex than you'd imagine. We're talking about precision agriculture, where coffee cherries must be picked within a 48-hour perfect ripeness window. A multi-million-dollar factories where robotic arms handle raw materials with surgical precision. Flavor scientists who can detect subtle defects that would ruin entire batches. Two completely different drying methods that create entirely different products. And here's something that might surprise you. Some of the most expensive instant coffees on the market actually taste better than what you get from many coffee shops. How is that possible? Join Factory X as we take you inside the high-tech, surprising, and ultra-efficient world of instant coffee production and reveal what really goes into your morning cup. Let's start at the very beginning. From bean to factory. Picture this. It's 4 a.m. on a mountainside in Colombia. The air is cool and damp, and coffee pickers are already moving through the rows of plants, their hands flying between branches. They're not just grabbing randomly, they're searching for cherries that have reached that exact shade of deep red that signals peak ripeness. This timing is everything. Coffee cherries don't all ripen at once on a single plant. On any given branch, you'll find underripe green cherries, too early. Perfectly ripe red ones, just right. Overripe, nearly purple ones, too late. The pickers need to harvest when about 95% of the cherries on a plant are at that perfect red stage. Miss this window by even a day or two, and the flavor profile changes completely. Underripe cherries give coffee a grassy, sour taste. Overripe ones develop fermented, winey notes that most people find unpleasant. On small, traditional farms, this is still done entirely by hand. Experienced pickers can harvest about 100 to 200 pounds of cherries in a day. But on large commercial plantations, they use harvesting machines that look like something out of a sci-fi movie. These beasts have rotating cylinders with 1,500 vibrating rods that shake the branches at 1,000 times per minute. The ripe cherries fall onto collection plates while the unripe ones stay attached. A single machine can do in minutes what would take dozens of workers all day. But the clock starts ticking the moment those cherries come off the branch. Within 8 to 12 hours, natural fermentation begins, and if the processors don't act fast, the entire batch could be ruined. This is where the wet processing method begins, a centuries-old technique that's been refined to near perfection. Robotic precision. Walk into a modern instant coffee factory, and the first thing that hits you is the scale. We're talking facilities that process over 1,000 tons of coffee beans every single day. That's enough to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool with raw coffee beans every week. The logistics alone are mind-boggling. Hundreds of trucks arrive daily, each carrying dozens of 60 kilograms jute bags of green coffee beans. In the past, moving these bags required teams of strong workers risking back injuries. Today, it's all done by robotic arms equipped with something called spider grippers. These aren't your typical factory robots. The grippers use multiple suction points to create a perfect hold on the uneven surface of coffee bags. They can lift and stack bags with precision no human could match, one bag every 15 seconds, 24 hours a day, without breaks or fatigue. But the real magic happens in quality control. Before any bean even gets roasted, it goes through 1. Infrared moisture scanners that can detect water content through the bag material. 2. Automated sampling probes that extract small bean samples for lab testing. 3. X-ray machines that check for stones or other contaminants. The lab tests are exhaustive. Technicians measure caffeine content, which varies by bean type and origin. Acidity levels, critical for flavor balance. Potential contaminants, from pesticides to mold. Any bag that doesn't meet exact specifications gets automatically diverted. In some factories, rejection rates can hit 15 to 20%. That's how serious they are about quality. The human touch. For all the advanced technology in coffee production, there's one thing machines still can't replicate: the human palate. Meet the coffee cuppers, professional tasters whose trained tongues decide which beans make the cut. These aren't just people who like coffee. They're more like wine sommeliers crossed with laboratory scientists. Their palates are so sensitive they can detect flavors and defects that machines would miss entirely. The cupping process is ritualistic in its precision. It always happens in the morning when the palate is most sensitive. The tasting room is climate-controlled to exactly 21 degrees Celsius with 60% humidity. No perfumes, no strong foods beforehand. Some cuppers won't even drink alcohol for days before an important tasting. Here's how it works. 1. They start by dry sniffing the ground coffee to check fragrance. 2. Hot water, always at exactly 93 degrees Celsius, is poured over and left for 4 minutes. 3. The crust that forms is broken, releasing a burst of aroma. 4. After cooling to exactly 71 degrees Celsius, the slurping begins. Yes, slurping. That noisy, almost rude-sounding technique is actually critical. It aerates the coffee across the entire palate, allowing tasters to evaluate. Flavor clarity: can they identify origin notes? Acidity balance: is it bright or flat? Body: does it feel thin or syrupy? Aftertaste: how long do flavors linger? Each sample gets scored on a 100-point scale. Anything below 80 is rejected. The best cuppers can taste 100 samples before lunch and remember each one's profile hours later. Their verdict determines the fate of entire shipments worth millions. Roasting and extraction. That green coffee bean sitting in the factory warehouse? It doesn't smell like coffee at all. In fact, it has more in common with a raw peanut than what ends up in your cup. The magic happens in roasting, where heat transforms these hard, odorless seeds into the fragrant beans we know and love. Modern industrial roasters are engineering marvels. Picture massive double-walled drums, some large enough to park a car inside, rotating at precisely 50 RPM. Inside, temperatures climb rapidly, from 190 degrees Celsius for light roasts to 280 degrees Celsius for dark. But here's what most people don't realize. The beans aren't just getting darker. A complex series of chemical reactions is unfolding. 1. The Maillard reaction: 150 degrees Celsius proteins and sugars combine, creating hundreds of new flavor compounds. This is where those nutty, chocolatey notes develop. 2. Caramelization: 170 degrees Celsius sugars break down, adding sweetness and viscosity. 3. Pyrolysis: 200 degrees C plus the beans literally crack open as internal pressure builds, releasing oils that carry flavor. The difference 30 seconds can make is astonishing. Light roasts, 8 to 12 minutes, preserve the beans' origin characteristics. You might taste floral notes from Ethiopian beans or fruity tones from Colombian. Dark roasts, 15 to 20 minutes, develop richer, bolder flavors but actually have slightly less caffeine, contrary to popular belief. Now comes the cool down, literally. The moment roasting stops is critical. Giant cooling trays with powerful fans drop the temperature from 200 degrees Celsius to room temperature in under 10 minutes. Too slow, and residual heat keeps cooking the beans, ruining the carefully developed profile. Next up, extraction. Forget your home coffee maker. Industrial extraction looks more like a pharmaceutical lab. The ground coffee meets water in towering stainless steel columns under carefully controlled conditions. Temperature: 175 to 200 degrees Celsius, much hotter than home brewing. Pressure: 15 to 20 atmospheres, espresso is typically 9. Time: 45 to 90 minutes versus 4 minutes for drip. The result? A liquid so concentrated it's essentially coffee syrup, about 60% solids compared to the 2% in your morning cup. This extract holds all the flavor, caffeine, and aroma that will eventually become instant coffee. But here's where the road splits into two very different paths. Spray drying versus freeze drying. Walk into an instant coffee factory, and you'll see two completely different production lines. One creating the standard powder, the other making premium granules. The difference comes down to drying method, and it's not just about texture, it dramatically affects flavor. Spray drying, the standard method. Imagine a tower 10 stories tall. That's your spray dryer. The coffee extract gets pumped to the top and forced through atomizers that turn it into a fine mist. Simultaneously, scorching air blasts upward at 400 miles per hour and 540 degrees Celsius. What happens next is straight out of a physics textbook. 1. Each microscopic droplet, about 50 microns wide, loses all moisture in under 3 seconds. 2. The remaining solids form hollow spheres. That's why cheap instant coffee looks like tiny bubbles under a microscope. 3. The powder collects at the bottom with just 2 to 3% moisture content. The trade-off? Those high temperatures destroy some volatile aromatics. That's why spray-dried coffee often tastes flat compared to brewed. Freeze drying, the premium process. This is where things get interesting. The same coffee extract first gets concentrated into a thick paste. Imagine cold maple syrup. Then it's poured onto -50 degrees Celsius chilled belts that freeze it solid in minutes. Giant crushers break this coffee ice into granules, which then enter vacuum chambers for sublimation. 1. The chamber heats to 60 degrees Celsius while maintaining near vacuum pressure. 2. Ice transforms directly to vapor, bypassing the liquid phase. 3. What remains are porous granules that retained their cellular structure. The science behind this is mind-blowing. Because temperatures never exceed 60 degrees Celsius, nearly all the original flavor compounds survive. Premium brands like Nescafé Gold use this method. Their granules actually dissolve more slowly because they're denser. Here's a pro tip: check your instant coffee's ingredient list. If it says spray-dried, it's the standard stuff. Freeze-dried means better quality and usually a higher price. Some premium brands even blend both types to balance cost and flavor. But regardless of method, there's one final challenge: keeping that flavor locked in until it reaches your cup. Packaging at lightning speed. The last stage of production is a mesmerizing dance of precision engineering. Those jars of instant coffee filling supermarket shelves? They're being packed at rates that defy comprehension, up to 320 jars per minute. That's more than 5 jars every second. Modern packaging lines are feats of mechanical synchronization. Here's how it works. 1. Jar feeding. Empty glass jars rocket down conveyor belts at 2 meters per second. Optical sensors ensure each is flawlessly clean. 2. Filling. Precision fillers use load cells accurate to 0.1 grams. For a 100 g jar, that's like measuring a single grain of rice. 3. Nitrogen flushing. Before sealing, a burst of nitrogen gas displaces oxygen, the enemy of fresh coffee. Oxygen levels inside are kept below 2%. 4. Sealing. Induction seals bond foil liners to jar mouths in 0.3 seconds through electromagnetic heating. 5. Labeling. High-speed printers customize labels with batch numbers and expiration dates. The quality checks are relentless. X-ray scanners detect foreign objects. Metal detectors find any stray machinery parts. Weight checks happen 200 times per minute. Any jar even slightly underfilled gets kicked off the line. But here's what's truly impressive: the logistics. A single factory might produce 250,000 jars per day, using 2 kilograms of green coffee beans per 1 kilogram of finished product. With a total processing time, bean to jar, of just 24 hours. All this explains why instant coffee, for all its convenience, isn't necessarily cheap coffee. The technology and energy required, especially for freeze-drying, means production costs can rival those of specialty roasters. So next time you stir those granules into hot water, remember, you're not just drinking coffee. You're tasting the culmination of agricultural science, mechanical engineering, and food technology, all designed to deliver that familiar flavor at a moment's notice. From cherry to cup, it's a journey more complex than most people ever realize. A final thought: Instant coffee often gets dismissed as the fast food of the coffee world. Convenient but inferior. But after seeing what goes into its creation, maybe we've been unfair. Think about it. That humble jar represents centuries of agricultural knowledge perfected across generations of farmers. Multi-million-dollar factories pushing the limits of food technology. Quality standards so strict they reject 1 in 5 beans before roasting. 2 completely different scientific approaches to preserving flavor. The truth? Most of us couldn't tell a high-quality freeze-dried instant from fresh brewed in a blind test. Brands like Starbucks Via or Blue Bottle's Instant prove that when done right, instant coffee can be, well, good. So here's a challenge. Next time you're at the store, pick up a premium freeze-dried instant. Taste it side by side with your regular brew. You might be surprised at what those little granules can really do. After all, in our fast-paced world, maybe instant coffee isn't the enemy of quality, just its most misunderstood form. Want to taste the difference for yourself? Now that you know the incredible science behind instant coffee, why not put it to the test? Grab a jar of freeze-dried instant, look for brands like Nescafe Gold, Starbucks Via, or specialty roasters, and compare it to your usual brew. Can you spot the nuanced flavors preserved through sublimation? Join the conversation. Drop a comment below. Do you think instant coffee gets a bad rap? Have you tried a premium instant that surprised you? What other food manufacturing processes should we explore next? Stay curious with us. If you enjoyed this deep dive into your morning caffeine fix, hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating breakdowns of everyday products. From chocolate to cereal, we're uncovering the hidden science behind what fuels your day. Share the knowledge. Tag a coffee lover who needs to see this. Maybe they'll finally stop judging your instant coffee habit. Until next time, stay curious and we'll see you in the next video.